has always been associated with war and bloodshed, with violence and resistance. Never in man's history has armed invasion been on so vast a scale as in our era, nor as bloody, nor as violent. At Pearl Harbor that red Sunday, the 7th of December 1941, there was launched an attack which shocked the world. While burial squads were still doing their grim work at Pearl Harbor, the enemy was leaving a trail of blood from island to island throughout the Pacific. When the United States entered the war, there began the greatest feat of arms ever accomplished. Action that was to give new meaning to the word invasion. From Normandy to New Guinea, Allied invasion operations came to mean liberation. In the South Pacific, it began in New Guinea, a few degrees south of the equator. The enemy forces fought hard to keep that island. In the name of their God Emperor, suicide became an official tactic. A nightmare for our naval forces. Until war's end, Allied troops made great invasions and liberated many peoples. But in New Guinea, our fighting forces discovered evidence of another kind of invasion that had been liberating men. To the surprise of Marine fighters, many flyers owed their lives to the natives' tender care, as commemorated in this painting. He proved to be a remarkable friend and ally in time of need. A strange phenomenon. No such kindness is inherent in the heathen native. In his pagan state, he is treacherous. Human life has no meaning or value. In many sections, he still practices headhunting and even cannibalism. Allied troops received friendly treatment because the church had prepared the way through its program of foreign missions. For instance, a GI wrote these words to his folks back at home. You may be interested in what I found where the American Lutheran Church conducted a missionary program. Every village I visited was burned by retreating Japanese. And now the natives have started building them again within the past 2 years. Every village had made attempts to reconstruct a chapel. I thought it rather impressive that these primitive people should all have made some effort to provide for Christian services while rebuilding their homes and wresting a meager living from the jungle and the sea. It has been 3 years since their missionaries left, yet they have their own missionaries. In each town, I found evangelists who also served as teachers. I was also impressed with their strict honesty, their unexpected high moral standards. They speak of the time when the missionaries come back with all the confidence of their world. They believe, missionary, he come back. Those are the words this young GI wrote to his folks back home. It meant something to him. The first Lutheran missionaries, John Fleury and Carl Tremmel, came to New Guinea in 1886. It took them 13 years to make their first convert. His father tried to kill Pastor Fleury. Later, his son became the first and best scholar in the missionary school. But to heathen tribes the world over, the missionary is looked upon as an invader. To the Christian soldier, it is an invasion, an assault against the powers of darkness that rule the human heart, whether men be savage or civilized. However fierce he may appear, the native is often sick and in need of medical care. For him, the invasion of Christ is actually rescue, an invasion that brings him liberation and relief. Relief from such common diseases as tropical ulcers, ringworm, knee infection, and the dreaded leprosy. Stricken with Frambesia, another malady they cannot understand. Who can still argue that the native is happy in his uncivilized state and is best left alone? The Great Invasion began in Galilee nearly 2,000 years ago, when Jesus of Nazareth said to a group of men and women who really cared, "Suffer little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of heaven. Whatsoever city ye enter, heal the sick that are therein, and say unto them, the kingdom of God is come nigh to you. Go, teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I've commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." When Dr. Theodore Fricke, Commissioner of the Board of Foreign Missions of the American Lutheran Church, and Superintendent John Cooter arrived at war's end, they said, "Our hearts sank at the sight. We did not know what to expect. Our beloved mission station blown to pieces. Our store and supply house, empty shelves. Our mission houses damaged beyond repair. Rusting Jap ships and barges told the sad tale. Ruthless invasion left many. Here are 3 of 12 Lutherans martyred. All that was left of the church at Nobanob, Pastor Hans Ander martyred. The seminary and the print shop once stood here. And a native church. Superintendent John Cooter and a native surveyed the ruins. Amelie Hospital, a total loss. What had this havoc of civilized man done to the native in this region? What had it done to his faith? Here at Amelie under Fulalek, graduate of Dr. Theodore Braun's first medical class, the people built a hospital out of bush materials. Under Simeng, another medical assistant, a mission of mercy was set up in Sayre village near Madang. Surely no group of Christians in an infant church ever had better opportunity to renounce their faith. Yet they remained faithful during the 2 years the Japanese were in possession of their country. In Madang, Pastor Oud said, "When we think of your home congregation sending you to us, I think of how God sent his Son into the world because he too loved us." One of the first classes to be received after the war. In Yambu village, we were greeted by a famous conch shell band playing "Take Thou My Hand, Dear Father, and Lead Thou Me." In September 1945, Commissioner Fricke cabled America, "Doors open, send men." And they came with their wives and their children. And God gave them a miracle. In Finschhafen, the very center of the Lutheran mission, lay all the material needed for building and reconstruction. Tons of war supplies left by the armed forces were purchased by Commissioner Fricke through the U.S. War Disposals Commission. A sawmill, tons of nails, wire, galvanized iron, bulldozers, mobile machine shops, trucks and ambulances. All this material and the 119th Station Hospital fully equipped with 250 beds. A medical staff moved in, and patients were admitted. Immediately, Dr. Agnes Hager set up a baby clinic. Entire medical units, 100-bed subsidiary hospice, were transported to isolated areas. $1,700 tons of building equipment, materials, and machinery, together with members of the reconstruction crew, were shipped 160 miles northwest to Madang, where some of the largest mission installations could now be built 2 years ahead of schedule. Timber for construction of the mission station. Cement, unloaded by some of the more than 150 natives who came from the entire Madang area to help rebuild their mission. 10 miles from Madang, a swath was cut through dense jungle for an all-weather road to the main hospital. With material, modern machinery, and money from the church at home, and men with the will to work, a dream of many years began to become a reality. Nearly 7 years after the pre-war hospital was laid waste, and only 2 years after the reconstruction crew went to work, this modern house of mercy was completed at Gaum. Leaders of the Amalek congregation erected a decorated gateway which led into the hospital compound. As the guests arrived for the dedication service, they were greeted by their hosts. Later in the day, Superintendent John Cooter and Dr. Theodore Braun headed the solemn procession in the presence of Americans, Australians, and hundreds of natives. The congregation listened with rapt attention as each speaker brought his message. Superintendent Cooter, dynamic leader of the mission reconstruction. Dr. Braun, beloved for his heroism in the war years, and the mission's chief medical officer. Young men who gave 2 years of service without compensation in the reconstruction received the Luther League Award. After the ceremonies, the natives reenacted old pagan customs. The native calls it Winnimbambu, pidgin English meaning blowing on long bamboo poles. In this way, they once called the spirits to be present at their pagan rites, practices which they now reject as Christians. As a young man, Psyche, wearing pig's tusks on his chest, was once the most famous and feared sorcerer in the Amalie area. This dance depicts the successful completion of an initiation for boys 12 to 14 years of age who were once subjected to a physical ordeal of mutilations and beatings, a practice which they also now reject as Christians. Now that a spiritual beachhead and a base of operations was firmly established once again, preparations could be made to spearhead new advances in the Great Invasion. At the main school at Amran, select men could begin to take advanced training in the use of spiritual weapons. The Christian soldier must know the Bible, how to read and write and translate. His weapon is the sword of the Spirit, the Word of the living God. The Christian soldier must know more about the world in which he lives. He must know how to grapple with its problems, must know how to compute beyond his 5 fingers. Native teachers direct the study of these future teachers and evangelists. One day they will be teaching the children of savages how to keep healthy, how to be a Christian, how to play. Christian school children are happy children. They love to learn new games just as we do. Wives of the teachers also learn important skills. The program of the mission is not designed for men only. Young women of the villages and wives of the teachers come to the mission stations and are trained in home economics. What woman needs to be coaxed how to dress in the latest styles? Some advanced men who show special aptitude are taught medicine. They learn even the highly developed art of surgery under Dr. Braun. These medical trainees, who are supported by their home congregations, go to school every day for 6 years. At the end of that time, they go out to the villages to work in the medical arm of the great invasion. At last the day comes when new spearhead advances are made into heathen areas. These people at Omkolai welcome the missionaries and are eager to hear the story of Jesus. The missionaries find village after village, according them a friendly welcome. Many of these natives and their children have never seen a white missionary. At Bamboo, they find this unusual church, measuring 70 by 40 feet, constructed by the natives in daily shifts with just one village-owned axe. A fine example of Christian cooperation. During the war, the instruction of these people had been continued by devoted teachers. Now the first baptismal service can be held outside Bamboo village. They hold high their skillfully carved baptismal bowl. Without warning, heathen break into the procession of new converts. One cries, "Why do you want to follow these white men? What have they ever given you? Look at me, I am rich. Look at my shells, my bow and arrow, my dog teeth. Come back with me to the old heathen ways which were so nice." But these converts said to themselves, "We are not going back to the fears and deceptions of heathendom. We have made our choice." And the victory is all Christ's, as the dove, symbol of God's Spirit, is lowered and candidates are baptized. As the great invasion moves farther inland, missionaries find people not so friendly, more primitive and savage, as seen here at the Pandanus Nut Festival. Decked in bizarre headdress of rare bird of paradise plumage, they hold a dance in celebration of the gathering of the Pandanus nuts. Heathendom is not defeated immediately. Sometimes natives who have been reached by the gospel go back to their old ways, as seen in this barbarous dance not far from a mission station. In the high hill country, savage rhythm leads warriors even deeper into their bloodthirsty paganism. An enemy falls in the battle, and tribal revenge is satisfied. Somewhere, women cover their heads with mud in sign of their bereavement. But these people, who now attend regular worship at the mission, have peace in their hearts. Clans who were once implacable enemies now sit together, drawn by the Spirit of Christ, as symbolized by this war spear on their church with a cross upon its hilt. For them, the church is their life. They carry a miniature replica of it in their dedication procession. "15,000 spectators, drawn by their love for pageantry, watch as the Christians dramatize Christ's command to become fishers of men. There are so many. The task is too great for just one man. Other fishermen must help if the command is to be carried out. Symbolically, they draw both friends and former enemies into the new way of life. Hundreds of men are caught by the fishermen. This evangelist is depicting how Jesus comes to meet the people as they seek to come to him. "800 former savages, carefully instructed for 4 years, join in their service of surrender to Christ. Once, women were chattel property, a commodity to be bought and sold. Now, through their baptism, they will be given equal consideration with the men as Christians. To become old will no longer be a curse. It will be a new birth, a new life, a new future, with hope beyond the grave. Surrender to Christ is not a loss, but a great gain." In the Lutheran section of New Guinea alone, more than 100,000 have been won in the Great Invasion. But farther inland, more than 500,000 natives still live in the grip of vile superstitions, still suffer dreadful diseases and nameless fears, still practice headhunting and even cannibalism. In the providence of God, areas served by the Lutheran Church could be evangelized in our generation. To see baptisms take place in areas still completely heathen will take more prayer, more interest, more support from the people of the home church. The great invasion is not finished. The battle is not yet won, but the gospel is firmly in hostile country. It is up to the home church to send supplies, support, and reinforcements to those who fight far away on the front lines. The great invasion of Jesus Christ will win the battle for the soul of New Guinea with adequate resources and an unwavering faith. For this is the victory that overcometh the world, even our faith.